Emmanuel Macron. I watched him yesterday with those beautiful sunglasses. What the hell happened?
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston. Across from me is the one and the only Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson. How's it going this morning, Chuck?
Happy to be here again today.
So there's news happening. Today, Trump is speaking in Davos, the World Economic Forum. I'm sorry. I voted for the guy. I feel bad for the people that are there because this is a State of the Union speech for
about
Trump,
how great America
with
is.
a little bit more emphasis on talking bad about European countries, which is great. Like, he'll make sure someone's in the room. He's like, is Mark Carney in the room? He's like, oh yeah, there he is right there. And then he'll roast Canada for 30 minutes.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your prime minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
If he wouldn't have been in there, he probably would have been, yeah, Canada's great. Let's move on to the next thing. But no, that guy's there. I'm gonna roast Canada for half an hour right now.
That's great TV.
Okay, it's show business, it's pretty
baby.
Good TV. Pretty
show
good TV.
Business.
And I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt the value of people that own a house who, for the first time in their lives, are walking around the streets of whatever city they're in, very proud that their house is worth $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. Now, if I want to really crush the housing market, I could do that so fast and people could buy houses, but you would destroy a lot of people that already have houses. We should be paying a much lower interest rate than we are. We should be paying the lowest interest rate of any country in the world, because without the United States, you don't have a country.
That is true for us.
Yeah.
The great thing, honestly, and it is a great thing about Trump, is that he always says the quiet part out loud. For years and years, we've had these professional politicians who get up there and talk about these great things in like very vague terms about the great things they're doing for the world and their country, but they never specifically say, I don't really want houses to go down because that would be bad for people who already own houses. So like, we're dealing with all the affordability issues, like, but the actual cost of getting a house, that's got to keep going up. You know, because if it goes down, then that's bad for the people who have the houses right now. So you don't want to do that.
But I could tank it right now.
Yeah, I could if I
to.
wanted to.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I've got the power.
Can
to
I just
tank
say
the price.
my first impression of this, because I haven't heard any of this speech, is this the first time I've heard him where he doesn't sound great? He sounds like he's a little sick or something.
Dude, this is probably 2.5 hours in here. This is toward,
he's starting to lose his voice.
These are more recent clips right here. And plus he had a late night. Did you see Air Force One had to turn around last night, go back, and he took like a C-32 or something to Davos? Yeah, I don't know what. Apparently there was an electrical issue or something like, I don't know what the thing was. So yeah, maybe he's tired. He strikes me as a guy who probably gets a solid 3 hours of sleep every night. So, and he's old, very old. Here's some stuff about NATO.
We've never gotten anything, except we pay for NATO. And we paid for many years until I came along. We paid for, in my opinion, 100% of NATO because they weren't paying their bills. And all we're asking for is to get Greenland, including right title and ownership, because you need the ownership to defend it. You can't defend it on a lease. Number one, legally it's not defensible that way, totally. And number two, psychologically, who the hell wants to defend a license agreement or a lease?
It's out there right in the open. Like it's a thing you have to somewhat appreciate. That it always reminds me of the Dave Chappelle clip about him being an honest liar.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, of course I did that. What do you mean? You did too.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just willing to say it out loud.
I'm just going to say it out loud. That's what it is. Okay, so defending Greenland, I don't really care about defending Greenland all that much. The idea with Greenland that I keep seeing people bring up is it's a great spot for us to shoot down Russia's supposed nukes that are going to destroy, and China's supposed nukes that are coming to destroy us
across the Arctic.
That's one thing. The first part with NATO,
winter is coming.
Yes. The first part with NATO in this clip, in his opinion, we pay 100% of NATO, but
Well, I think what he was saying
reality.
is we already paid for Greenland.
yeah.
That's what he's saying. He's like, look, give us Greenland because we already paid for it.
Well, listen, if someone tries to take Greenland, who's going to defend it?
Oh, Denmark, of course.
The answer is we're going to defend it. You know? I mean, that's the actual answer.
Yeah.
If China and Russia moved in, or if it's NATO or whatever that's going to, we're going to be funding it. And if it is NATO, yeah, sure, we pay. Technically, a lot of the money for NATO is us because technically the indirect funding is based on what you spend on your military. And so, yeah, we destroy everyone on that. As far as the direct funding, like contributing to the headquarters and administration and all of that of NATO and whoever pays people to make the logo and stuff like that, those kind of things for NATO, we contribute 16% of it, which is the same as Germany. So
the people who make the helmets.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, the helmet,
blue
all
armbands.
all those people. But you're thinking UN. I think UN has the blue armbands.
Oh,
yeah.
What does NATO have?
I don't really know.
Yeah.
NATO is
Stickers.
just we're all in it. That's the thing. I think you're thinking UN, and both of them we should just get rid of those things. I've got a few other clips that I wanted to play and go through today. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was, luckily, Congress is getting together and putting together a real nice spending bill for you guys. And they're finding new ways to spend more money right now because that's a big issue that we have. And we're going through all these spending bills. We got to get them done by January 30th, or there's going to be a shutdown. And so here we are, a week before that. Making sure that we get all these spending bills done so we don't go into a government shutdown. And they've went ahead and allocated some more money for NIH and NASA. NASA needs more money. We're going to put a couple billion more dollars into Amtrak. I think if we do that,
we're going back to the moon, Nate.
We're going to go back to the moon.
The launch has been scheduled.
Got to have NASA doing that. Now, for the thing for NIH, and what I've noticed has happened a lot. Remember back in Doge? Remember Doge? They made a lot of cuts. Some of them were unpopular with some people, and they cut some like research funding, stuff like that. And then we've gone back and we're basically reallocating the money that Doge said they cut or cut off there for a bit. So that's nice. So Doge cut the money, and now they're just coming back and reauthorizing different parts of that money.
And then more money.
And so the cuts didn't even last the whole year before Congress decided to come back and do it. And more money for Amtrak. That's great. That's awesome. We're going to pay a bunch of money for a dam somewhere. ICE, they're going to stay around $10 billion. They are going to do $20 million for body-worn cameras. So more body cams for ICE. Democrats, I guess, this is a bipartisan bill. And even though Democrats are crying a lot about ICE right now, you got to get the other spending increases that they want in this bill. And so they got to vote to fund ICE
for
a
body
little bit
cams.
more as well. You got to get body cams and stuff like that. And that's how they combine all these things together, and that's what happens. Is this the clip you were talking about with Rand Paul on Rogan, talking about $5 billion for refugee welfare?
No, I was talking about his immigration policy. Yes, sir, Monday.
Okay. I haven't seen any clips of that going around. You'll have to send it to me sometime. The only thing I've heard him talking about has been the refugee stuff.
I've never been for giving welfare to new people to this country. What we have done, not we, but others in Congress have allowed, is they have allowed exemptions to the rules. So if you come in under refugee status, which most of the Somalis did and 200,000 Afghans did, we then say, oh, well, the rules don't apply. Refugees get welfare. And I think that's a mistake. I'm open to people coming to our country, but I think there also needs to be based on merit, based on work. And, hundreds of thousands of Somalis coming all at once, hundreds of thousands of Afghans coming all at once. I'm really not for that. I think it should be individualized based on merit.
Bernie Sanders is happy about the increased funding. That's good. Yeah, that's all. Given the dysfunctional political environment, I'm proud we reached the health care deal that provides the largest increase in community health center funding in a decade, expands the healthcare workforce, lowers drug costs, and strengthens vital cancer research for kids.
Of course.
All right. Yeah, that's what we got. That's good.
Vital cancer research for kids. You put that in a bill, everyone will pass
Well,
it.
you can't vote against that. I'm sure Thomas Massie voted against it. Now, Massie released an attack ad against Ed Galrain today, which, by the way, I keep seeing the odds makers, Polymarket and Kashi,
Yeah, there's a new one.
something like that.
Kalshi,
I think, showing Massie having like 75 to 85% chance of winning right now. I think that's going to get a lot closer as time goes on. But he released this attack ad, and I do have questions. And I responded to the ad, and I'm going to see if Thomas Massie for Congress, whoever runs that page, responds to this. Because I can't find any information backing this up. I don't think they would just release a maliciously false ad about Ed Galrain. I don't see them doing that. I don't see Massie doing that. But it's interesting. I haven't heard this before. Let's see what you think.
I'm Thomas Massie, and I approve this message.
If you miss Kamala Harris's Woke America, don't worry. Ed Galrain is ready to turn back the clock. Woke Eddie was a chair and executive coach for a company that trains implementing woke DEI programs, showing films to help them support gender transitions. Makes sense an out-of-state billionaire, bankrolling Woke Ed's campaign, donated millions to support transgender activism. Woke Eddie Galrain. He'll fight for they, them, but never us.
I'm Thomas Massie.
Gotta do that. Okay, so they made a connection in here. Hold on. Eddie Galrain,
great though. The ending.
Executive. Well, that was a Trump ad during the campaign that worked really well, which was the "she's for they them." What I don't remember how it was worded. Basically the same way. Eddie Galrain, executive woke coach. But then they say something like one of his supporters did this, and this, and then like the next 10 seconds or 5 to 10 seconds are actually things about that supporter, one of his funders, and not Galrain himself, which at this point is fair game. I mean, they keep talking about how Massie is connected to Democratic Socialists of America because the guy who runs this thing called IPAC or whatever gave Massie $500. Not even the PAC itself, just the guy who runs the PAC gave him $500. Let me hear that. Let me hear how they worded this again. I think that there was a clever switcheroo in here.
A chair and executive coach for a company that trains implementing woke DEI programs, showing clock. Woke Eddie was a chair and executive coach for a company that trains implementing woke DEI programs, showing films to help them support gender transitions. Makes sense an out-of-state billionaire, bankrolling Woke Ed's campaign, donated millions to support transgender.
Okay. Ed Galrain was a chair of a company, and
I think he was an executive coach.
Yes,
at a company
that did those things.
That company also did DEI stuff.
I'm surprised that they're stretching this hard on this, but that's effective. Whatever. This is politics. I don't particularly like it a lot because that's what everyone else does. But
if you can't beat him, join him.
That's what do you think about that? It's almost disappointing, but the whole situation is disappointing. So,
I don't like being dishonest.
Yeah,
I just think it's a bad plan. Because if dishonesty, it can get you what you want in the moment, but it won't get you what you want in the future. So I'm by default, I'm against it. Now, I don't know. Losing Thomas Massie would be devastating. But maybe that needs to happen.
It would be devastating to, it would be devastating to having someone in there that is going to be pointing out what they're doing wrong for sure. I don't like this. I'll just straight up say I don't like this.
It would be nice if he said, I could make an ad like this.
Yeah.
Which is what they're doing to me.
Yeah. Because
and then you kind of still get the message across.
Yeah, the facts that they threw out in this ad is that
facts.
He was executive chair of a company, and that company did this, and then also one of his top donors supports doing these things also, and saying that about Ed Galrine and linking all that together, and
An
that's
out-of-state billionaire.
Yeah, I don't particularly like that. I get it. We both get it. I know we get it. This is sort of gonna have to do whatever they can to win this. It reminded me to go ahead and bring in this post right here from Gabe. Does anyone know how to Guidarini? I don't know how to say that. He said it's notable how a majority of the Ron Paul 2008-2012 people joined the Trumpists immediately in 2016. The latter movement, the most appropriate spiritual successor to Ron Paul's, that being Trump's movement in 2016. And then there's a small crowd of thumb-sucking pearl clutchers like Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. So that's interesting. What is funny...
The son of Dr. Ron Paul is a thumb-sucking pearl clutcher.
I actually didn't even put that together. Like, that's...
So the son of Dr. Ron Paul is not the most appropriate successor to Dr. Ron Paul.
No.
His own son.
No.
Trump is.
Now, this guy, Gabe...
Sorry, Ron Paul.
This guy, Gabe...
I know you have a nice, wonderful, successful son, Dr. Rand Paul, but you should have had Trump. Would have been better.
Gabe works for Turning Point.
And Turning Point.
And it is really funny. Turning Point just released their action scorecard, and Massie, for the current Congress, has a score of 100 from Turning Point. So that's interesting. And he said, the reason I'm bringing this up, there is a reason. It's not just to talk about Massie. This conversation goes on, and this person says he votes on principles. Imagine that. And Gabe says, immigration enforcement is the most absolute principle. I would support $1 trillion going to ICE funding if that's what was required. And I worry that I think that is a pretty commonly held belief.
Nick, is that you?
Right now. I think
is that Nick?
I think it's
is that Fuentes?
Pretty commonly held belief among people on the right that this, and I get it, it's a big issue, but people on the right have spent so much time talking about immigration as being the cause of all the problems that I worry that they're forgetting that the government is the cause of all of your problems. And I think that's where we went wrong, is people have officially been given this scapegoat of people who aren't from here, and they're here and they're taking all your money and they're getting all the welfare and they're making your health care more expensive. And that's why housing has gone up, and that's why health care has gone up, and that's why groceries have gone up, and that's why we have all these issues. Is there a disease spread? That's why we have a disease spreading. All of these things are because these immigrants are here. And if we just solve that, then we won't have these issues anymore. And they're certainly contributing factor in some ways, but what bugs me the most about this is no one ever talks about the root cause of the problem. And this person is specifically deciding to not talk about the root cause of the problem, which is the government and the welfare state itself, and the fact that all of these systems are set up for people to take advantage of in the first place. The fact that we allow them to steal our money and dole it out to whoever they decide is, in whatever way they decide is going to win the most votes for them. And when you just
the fact that our government has spent so much money causing inflation, higher prices.
The fact that the government spending money is in itself waste and fraud.
But then he supports another $1 trillion
of theft from people to spend in stopping
I'm perfectly
people.
fine with inflation going up as long as ICE is funded to remove people.
And it's so crazy this is Turning Point. I can make a safe assumption. This is a Republican right here. And underlying that statement is, you know what? All the stuff our government does, the welfare programs, the money we spend, what we do with interest rates and housing and supply and regulation and all that, it would all just work out perfectly if it weren't for those damn immigrants. The state being this big and this powerful and taking this much money would just be fine and dandy with me if it weren't for the damn immigrants coming in here and messing up this whole system.
We should be getting that welfare.
The all amazing power of the state is glorious.
This is unfair.
As long as we don't have those immigrants. And that's not a message I'm going to jump on board with at all. A lot of people are, because you give people someone to be mad at. The government's good at doing that.
Then it seems like you have a solution.
Yeah, the solution is getting rid of that. Amazingly enough, the current administration, while being correct sometimes, the current administration has decided, well, it's not actually all the money we're taking from you and the money we're spending, plus 20% on top of that. It's actually these people that are the problem. It's not the government. It's not our DOJ. It's not the ATF, the FBI, the DHS, the Treasury. It's none of these people. Your problem is not the government now, magically in 2025, 2026. It is the immigrants.
Yep.
And once you get rid of them, the amazing power of the state will be used in the most benevolent way you've ever seen.
There's a great question from the Fed Haters Club, which you can join by going to joingml.com, that I want to read here. It says, what's the libertarian answer to mass deportation? If the people want it, what is the most moral and libertarian way to do that? Well, I think you have to start with the premise of...
That's the question we've been trying to answer this for a bit now.
Right. The most moral way to do this is that if you get rid of the welfare state, so there's no welfare at all. It doesn't exist. There's no SNAP benefits. There's no daycare benefits. There's no food benefits, like nothing. The problem largely takes care of itself because the people coming here to get benefits from the federal government or state governments wouldn't exist. It would largely take care of itself. And then I think Rand Paul's plan, I think there should be, the government does have a role in finding criminals and dealing with them because they violated someone's rights, because they committed a crime against a person, whether that was rape or murder or whatever the case may be. So you find a way, you find those people and deport them. The ones who are just here on the government dole, they'll leave. They'll be gone because they can't make it, or they'll be forced to become a productive member of society. That's going to be a net benefit. So it wouldn't matter what their immigration status is.
Let's assume in answering this question that we will not get rid of the welfare state and all of those people will still be here. Because we're not the answer.
Then you don't have a libertarian answer.
Yeah. The problem with immigration is that there is not a perfect libertarian answer because it's not going to happen. The perfect libertarian answer is what Charlie just laid out, really. And that's not, if we get to that point, then we've solved a lot of problems and we've totally changed the trajectory of America. We've woken people.
Not woke. You can't say
We've
woke.
woked people up. And we got a lot of problems solved if we've made it to the point where we got rid of the welfare state and the government's only interested in going after the criminals because they violated someone else's liberties and all of that.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem. The Republicans love the welfare state just as much as the Democrats.
I know.
Look at the spending bill they're working on.
So then you have to, so like the answer to the situation that we're in right now, January 2026, that's why I haven't been able to answer the question. I think that trying to get people to self-deport is a valid answer. If you support the government going around trying to find people to deport them, you'd have to realize that it is actually much cheaper to offer to pay people to leave. And it's actually much cheaper to the tune of like you should pay them 5, 10, 15 grand. Like you spend a lot of time going around trying to look at we're 10 billion for ICE this year, I think. If you could somehow pay as many people to leave as possible, that would be a lot, but that's not a perfect libertarian answer either. Why? Because the money that you're giving them was stolen from other people. And so honestly don't think there is a libertarian answer that allows for deporting people in the situation that we're in right now, especially nonviolent people who haven't committed a violent crime against other people. I definitely think that if you know that someone committed some type of violent act against another person, that's totally fair game. And you go and arrest that person and deport them. There's not a great libertarian answer for saying, like, oh, you're here and you got to go over there because I said so. There's not. There's what we might want. Like, I might agree that too many people came here too soon, and that caused a lot of issues. I might agree with that, but there's the problem. It does conflict, honestly, with my, libertarian non-aggression principle to say that, like, all of those people should be deported. But this entire time, I've said constantly, I don't care that much about immigration. Like, I'm fine either way. When we talk about how many people are on welfare, I'm like, okay, that sucks. Welfare is an issue. Number two, well, when I talk about that many people being on welfare, I'm like, well, are you going to set rules on how many kids people can have? Are you going to set rules on how many kids poor people can have? Because they'd be on welfare too. So if you're talking about the problem is the number of people that entered to the welfare system in a span of 3-4 years, really you're just singling out the fact that they didn't come here legally, I guess. You're not using like a numbers argument in that point, or then you'd have to start limiting population, to make sure that those people weren't coming on welfare. And that every time we talk about it, the problem, the root cause, the very basis of this issue is the welfare state itself. It just is. And without taking care of that there's no libertarian solution.
Well, there's another problem, which is the voting problem. Like, in California, getting additional congressional seats based on population, the fact that they've passed laws, like in states like California, where it's illegal to show your ID to vote because they want illegal people voting. But also, the only way that they're able to accomplish that in the numbers that they have is because those people get welfare. So it would also help that additional problem, because the people wouldn't be willing to cross the border if they weren't guaranteed something for nothing. It would. So
I think some
that's
people
where
would, because they'd be coming into probably even at that point a much better situation than what they're coming from. More than likely, I think that there's less incentive, but it's probably better.
Yeah, but then they're more traditionally conservative, would probably more likely vote Republican.
Yeah, I know.
The only reason
I was making this point.
The only reason they're voting Democrat is because they
want to stay here.
They want, and they're getting stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where I think a plan like Rand Paul's, if you want to go in between, like the perfect libertarian solution and let's say the authoritarian right solution, which is, let's build Gestapo style ICE.
Door to door, tanks rolling down every street.
Exactly. So if you want to go somewhere in between, I think Rand Paul's plan is reasonable.
I think a question for people on the right would be, if you had voter ID implemented in every state, if you made sure 100% no states were going to give welfare to illegal immigrants, the federal government wasn't going to give welfare to illegal immigrants. If you knew that every state and locality was going to report to DHS when someone got arrested for rape, was going to report to DHS that they were holding an illegal immigrant that was just arrested for rape, and we need to know what train to put them on to send them down south. Like, if you knew that, would you still have an issue with all the people that are here? Can't get welfare. We got voter ID for everyone. When they commit a crime, it's reported and they get deported everywhere. Do you still have an issue with all the people who came here? Because at that point, your issue really isn't, well, they came here the wrong way. They didn't do it legally or whatever. It's the negative things that are happening because of this that you have an issue with. And so then I think your answer is, well, probably focus on fixing those things and people will feel a lot better about the whole situation. I think voter ID is a no-brainer. The voter ID, people being upset about that, it's laughable at this point that you would be upset about that. And the fact that you could get apportionment for congressional seats based on total population and not the fact that people who aren't citizens of the country get counted makes no sense to me.
Insane
at all. It makes absolutely no sense to me. So I don't get that at all. That absolutely should not count towards your congressional seats. Voter ID, apportionment for seats, that's electoral votes. That's a big issue right there. 100% no states giving welfare. I mean, at this point, you'd have to make sure the states aren't doing it. But if they are doing it, then you got to make sure the federal government's not sending the transfers to the states. You know, that's one thing that you would want to look at doing. And then the other issue is sanctuary cities and sanctuary states not telling immigration enforcement when they arrest someone for rape or murder or assault or whatever, because they don't want them to get deported or whatever. I think that that's a big issue that a lot of people have problems with. And those are the things that people should focus on trying to solve.
I also think it's easy for some people that, you know, they focus narrowly, which is smart if you want to, I guess, be popular, but you focus narrowly on one issue and then you come up with the most, to me, it's like they're playing on like this innate human emotion of things that have happened, like when it comes to war or whatever the case may be, where you get the most amount of, let's say, ignorant folks to look at a single issue and you can say, here's a problem, I have a solution, and it's easy for people to buy into without critically thinking about anything else. And so that's what they do. They go out and they hammer that message over and over and over again, and it ends up gaining a lot of popularity because anytime you force people to critically think, you start to lose the audience.
Yeah.
And so it for folks like whoever this, what's his name? Gabe? Whatever.
Gabe.
He's decided that he's going to singularly focus on this, and that's why he can make outlandish claims like, I'm fine with stealing another $1 trillion from my grandchildren if we can fund ICE and kill everyone that's not an American citizen. Sure.
Yeah.
You know, that's why he can use Nick Fuentes talking points.
And our big, that's like an extreme example, obviously, but maybe it's not so extreme. I think a lot of people do feel that way. Like that is the thing they want to focus on. And that's why we've had such an issue this whole time. Like that is not the source of your problems. That is not the source.
Right.
That's a symptom of your problems, but it's not the source. And that's like what you just pointed out. People focusing so much on one thing and acting like if we just get this one thing solved, like focusing so much attention on the fraud in these programs, which is great, except for that needs to convert into the idea that those programs shouldn't exist. That needs to be the underlying message of talking about the fraud in these programs, not, well, if we just make sure that all of this stolen money is allocated properly, then that's great. Then we've solved the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is that the money's getting taken from one person and given to another to whom it does not belong.
Right.
To paraphrase the great Walter Williams in that. Well, I didn't expect that. I'm glad that we just had that conversation. It's another proof and point that we can have nothing prepped up for the podcast and still record. That's fine.
That's the way it goes.
I had this clip because I do think it's important to keep bringing up COVID as much as possible. There's this clip going around of Brett Weinstein talking to Michael Shermer. And it's so interesting because it sent me down the rabbit hole of this Paul Offit and stuff that he was saying about this meeting they had where Fauci and himself and others admitted that natural immunity was obviously a thing, possibly even superior, and made the conscious decision actually by vote to not admit that in public. And I just found that really interesting. I know you got a short time here, but I'm gonna play a couple minutes of Brett Weinstein talking to Michael Shermer. It's important we keep bringing this stuff up as much as we can because this happened, and it happened very recently. And these systems are still in place right now. I know RFK's in there right now.
We're going to give NIH more funding.
We just gave NIH some more funding, but of course that's for kids with cancer and stuff. And so the system is still in place right now. It's still going to do this to you again next time someone you don't like is in control. And once again, the source of your problem was not that the wrong person was running HHS or that the wrong person was running NIH. The source of your problem was that those things exist in the first place. And they're still here, and they're still going to kill you next time they have the chance. Okay? Here's a little snippet of that.
Are you still getting COVID boosters?
No.
You're not. Why not?
Well, I've already had COVID a couple times, so I have natural immunity.
So you believe in natural immunity?
Well, after
the entire public health apparatus assured us that natural immunity was not good enough and that you still got a benefit from the vaccines.
They got it wrong. Look, Brett, they got many things wrong.
Do you remember that moment in time?
I do.
And do you remember people like me shouting about this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we find out from Paul Offit that all of the major players gathered together and privately understood the very same thing that they were gaslighting us over. They understood that natural immunity was the best immunity that you were going to come by and that a vaccine wasn't going to augment it. And they decided to keep that to themselves in spite of the fact that these vaccines are built on a novel technology they didn't know the hazards of at best. So how is it that these people can privately meet and decide there's a whole swath, millions of people, hundreds of millions of people who'd already had COVID, who didn't need to take any risk whatsoever from a novel vaccine? How is it that they get to privately decide to keep that information to themselves?
Okay,
and why, given that they did that, given that you remember the moment in history at which they were, not only were they disagreeing with us, which was a lie, they were gaslighting us. They were telling people like you that people like me were crazy. Well, I don't understand how you don't learn that lesson. Or maybe you did, and that's why you're not getting any more COVID boosters.
No, I just think, again, it's more of a changing information landscape. We think this is what, we think masks work, masks don't work. Yeah, we should have masks.
Oh my
6
God.
feet distancing,
Michael,
close the schools, open the schools.
Why do you think the information landscape changed?
Well, because the information was low to begin with, and then we got more information.
No.
I'm less conspiratorial that Paul Offit and his buddies all met.
They
and said,
did,
we know
according to Paul Offit.
I don't remember him saying that.
He's talked about it twice on video. He's described the meeting where he and Fauci and Collins and Walensky got to.
So I went and I watched that. I thought the exchange was great, and it just reminded me just what kind of a crazy time we just went through. And by the way, the Paul Offit did admit that, and multiple times. There's one from this one says 3 years ago on YouTube where he admits that in the meeting with Fauci and others, and that they knew that natural immunity was just as good or better. And the decision that they made was that was too difficult bureaucratically to enforce or to ensure, and it was too and it was too confusing of a message.
The Europeans
to tell
knew it?
people, and so they just couldn't do it. And what's so wild about this is
and they don't get as many kickbacks.
Like, this is what you do with the lie, though. Because you can make, like, if you're trying to control people and manage all these people, and we know COVID was a great tool for control. That's why so many people on the left all of a sudden got behind, like, Big Pharma when they were against it the whole time, because they realized, science and this whole establishment is a great tool for controlling the entire population. Isn't that awesome? And so all of a sudden they're like, yeah, science. And so it was a great tool for control for them. But in this lie, it's so crazy they turn it into gaslighting by acting like you're crazy for mentioning natural immunity, for mentioning that you could potentially fight off something because you had it previously.
It's not even being called crazy. They actively tried to shut everyone down.
They did.
Who were telling the truth. You know, it was Brett Weinstein, and they even tried to cancel Joe Rogan for other stuff too. But we were affected. Lots of people were affected actively by the control mechanism that you're talking about, because science, and it was all a lie. And that's it. This whole, back door of like, well, the information was changing and we didn't really know masks worked and then they didn't work. No, they knew the whole fucking time they didn't work.
They did.
They knew it.
Yeah.
The CDC, when the CDC came out and said, because they were running out of protective equipment, things that actually worked, like N95 masks, as long as you knew how to wear them correctly and you were fitted for them properly, those worked. But they were running out of those things. And so to solve that problem, they said, just wear a T-shirt, put a sweatshirt over your face, just smother yourself with a pillow and you'll prevent. They knew those things were wrong.
They knew all of this
the
stuff,
whole
by the
time.
Way. They knew, and that's the thing that people have to consider.
And they made a conscious decision to lie to the American public. It wasn't, we didn't know. Yes, you did. And that's that to me is like what's most angering about this is you actually did know, because you are scientists.
Yeah, they knew.
And you chose explicitly to speak an opposite message for control. That's what it was for.
This should take 30 seconds. Listen to Offit when asked about natural immunity. This is a few years ago. He was like, well, yeah, of course. Of course you have immunity afterwards. You have that with everything. Of course you do.
But the idea too that natural immunity, because this is something that's become a bugaboo. Like, and you've said, like, dude, nature has a really good PR agent. Like, it just sounds cool. Like, natural just sounds better. And you could just say recovered immunity. More data coming out, still kind of saying, well, it's actually pretty good, right? If you've been
as you would expect. It's true for every other virus. I mean, with arguably the exception of flu. I mean, if you've gotten measles, there's no reason for you to get a measles vaccine or mumps or germ or rubella or chickenpox. I mean, you've been vaccinated essentially. But here, and I think it was probably more bureaucratic than anything else. It is not at all surprising that if you're naturally infected, that you will develop high frequencies of memory B and T cells, which should protect you against serious illness. And I think that is what the CDC now has shown. And I can tell you this, I don't think this was a confidential meeting. Hopefully it wasn't. But I was asked along with 3 other people to advise the administration on whether or not natural infection should count as a vaccine. I think that you just have to say, how are you going to show that you were naturally infected? So I think PCR would not be the way I would go. I would show that you have antibodies.
The moral of the story is they knew clearly, because they're scientists, they know this. This is all proven things, and they all realize that. Their problem was when they checked to see if you had been vaccinated, it would be tough for you to show proof of natural immunity without really good testing for that. And
yeah, but the Europeans did this.
And they didn't
when I traveled to Europe, it was either you had to be vaccinated or you had to basically sign an affidavit saying you had COVID and recovered.
Which is great. And the crazy thing is, instead of them just saying that, they said, no, natural immunity, that's not a thing.
It doesn't
You're crazy.
work.
You're a crazy conspiracy theorist. Take the vaccine.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Why do you hate grandmas and children?
I'm angry enough.
And the healthy. All right, we got to go. Let's get out of here, everyone. Charlie's got a hard stop.
If you enjoyed today's episode, share it around. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go to godhatesfeds.com for some merchandise or click that button, join GML, to be part of the Fed Haters Club, the greatest hating club in America. Worldwide, actually.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Fed Haters Club, joingml.com. Visit the links in the show notes to support the sponsors that support this show. If you do all that, we'll be back again tomorrow. Hope you have a good day and a good morning, Liberty.